Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Happy Vlogmas. As I mentioned previously, I believe, or I'll be mentioning in another video, we were sick for about a week and a half. You'll hear the kids in the background as per usual. But anyways, yeah. So we've been sick for about a week and a half, if not longer. I know I was fighting a cold for about 2-3 weeks, maybe even 4. Eli was also fighting a cold about that long, if not longer. And I think it's just because of him now being in a different environment. He was doing speech therapy and then started nursery school. So he, I guess, developed just regular germs from being around other kids or other colds from other kids. I know there's a really bad virus that's going on right now. I know when I got sick, I was pretty much out for the first few days. Charles even had to stay home for one day to help me take care of the kids because I was so weak. I was so drained. I couldn't do anything. Like, it was just, it was horrible. So now that we're feeling better, I really wanted to participate in Vlogmas this year, sorry. I'm hoping that we could pump out a video every day or so. If not, maybe every other day, but you'll see a lot of us here on this channel. So I hope you guys enjoy. And if you aren't subscribed, please subscribe, you know, join the family. You would love to see Eden and Eli every day or get notifications and know when new videos are coming out. It'll be best to stay subscribed to the channel so that you could keep up with us. Also follow us on social media. Check out the description box for all the social media links. I know we're not on every platform, but main platform that you can find us on outside of YouTube will be Instagram. And yeah, sorry, I had to go get Eden. She was a little fussy, but I think she's tired. So in today's video, we'll be discussing, or I'll be discussing, the time I found out that I got COVID when I was pregnant with Eden. Speaking of talking about colds, I might as well talk about COVID, right? So I was about 18 weeks pregnant at this time. It was a week after Eli's birthday, and I just remember feeling a bit of like sinus pressure in my nasal passages. And I remember with Eli, if I can remember the word, I'll put it up on the screen or whatever. But I remember with Eli, I had this issue with my sinuses where like my nose would always run. I'd be so stuffed up. I think it's pregnancy rhinitis. I don't remember. Your girl's having a problem, mom brain. But anyways, I had I had a sinus issue with Eli, and I remember having to use the air humidifier. I also had to put like Vicks on all the time. I just couldn't breathe. I was so stuffed up. At night, your immune system shuts down a little bit more, so you're more prone to feeling your symptoms worse. So I just remember like, it was so bad to the point where I feel like I couldn't breathe. I had to breathe through my mouth and had to put like Vicks. I know technically you're not supposed to do it, but I would like put like Vicks or like coconut oil in my nose because it was even super dry. And I remember also like just having to sleep with like 5 pillows behind my head because I needed to be propped up. I couldn't lie down. I had to sit up like this to sleep. Like, that's how bad it was. And yeah, so I was having that same feeling, and I had a doctor's appointment for Eli. So March 16th is Eli's birthday. March 23rd, I booked the appointment for us to go to the doctor, and it was a doctor appointment for Eli to do a checkup and everything. And I thought, okay, you know what? It's perfect if I go too, so that way I can just get him to check me and give me maybe something to help with my sinuses because it was horrible. And I was just absolutely miserable. I was feeling like weak and drained, and I figured, you know what? Because I'm pregnant and dealing with a toddler, that's the reason why I was feeling the way I was feeling. So went to the doctor. He gave me a prescription for some type of like nasal spray, and like he told me I have to do twice in each nostril, once a day, rinse out my mouth, and continue doing that, and hopefully it'll help to improve my symptoms. So I was so happy. I had my nasal spray. I was like, yes, like I'm gonna finally be able to breathe. Everything is good. And I remember walking from the doctor's office and heading back home, and I just remember feeling like a little bit of a tingle in my throat where it was kind of sore, but I thought maybe it was just because it's dry. Like, that's it. Like, you know, I'm gonna be fine. but no, it kind of got worse and worse throughout the day. And I kept on monitoring it, and all of a sudden I started coughing, and I developed this like bad cough. I came home and it was like a whole different world. Like I was just like, I went from being okay with like just my sinus pressure to a cough, to then full blown feeling sick, like with the flu. Like I couldn't move. I was coughing so much that I ended up having to gag, and then it would force me to then throw up. So I was like miserable, because like the whole day I was at home telling Charles, I'm like texting him when he's at work, or I was texting Charles when he was at work, and I told him like I feel like absolute ass, like garbage. And I just remember getting up, going to the bathroom, throwing up, coming back to the couch, and repeating that constantly while trying to handle Eli. And Eli was fine, he was playing around, so he acted a little sick, but not too sick, so we were okay. But hi buddy. Always when I'm recording this is when he wants to come and play with me and do stuff, right? So yeah, I wasn't feeling well, and everything was pretty shitty. And finally, Charles got home from work, and he was also saying that he wasn't feeling well either. A few people at his job site tested positive, and I remember even before me feeling sick and telling him I was feeling sick and stuff, a few people from the party were talking about themselves feeling sick. So I was worried that, you know, like, we didn't invite a lot of people to his birthday party. Sorry. Here you go. Yeah, so we didn't invite a lot of people to his birthday party. It was just some close family and friends. I'll show like a video. It looks like a lot of us, but it's really not. It's just because there's a lot of like each family or each household is big, so it looks like there's a ton of us. But it was like maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 households. But anyway, so we had his birthday party. Certain people said they were feeling sick, not too many. So I was worried about people catching COVID. So once I started having the cough and stuff, I was in denial. Like, I was like, there's no way I have COVID. But Charles was like, you know, some people from his workplace has COVID. We should take a test and see just in case if we have COVID. So in Ontario at that time, our pharmacy was giving away free rapid test kits. And we had one in the cupboard just in case, especially because Charles, he would get tested every day for work. So I had one at home just in case, because since I'm going also to now the midwifery clinic, I didn't want to bring anything, and they want you to always do like a self-assessment for yourself to make sure you're okay. So I remember Charles then was like, you know what, let's test ourselves just to make sure. I'm telling you guys, like, in my head, in my heart, I was like, I do not have COVID. This is just a pregnancy. Like, I felt like this with Eli, minus the throwing up part. Like with Eli, I felt very nauseous all the time. I threw up a handful of times, but not too often. So I just thought this time, you know what, maybe it's just the pregnancy hormones and stuff that's getting me. So I remember Charles went, he swabbed me, he did my other nostril, he put the concoction together. And a few minutes later, he was just like, yeah, you're positive. And I was like, what? I have COVID. He's like, yeah. I was like, whoa, okay. So I, like, in my brain, I'm like worried, because I'm like, I took the bus and I was in public with Eli. So I was like, how did I possibly get COVID? Like, maybe I got it from the bus. Charles was thinking maybe he brought it home from work because he was feeling guilty, since, you know, some people from his workplace tested positive for COVID and still showed up to work without everyone's knowledge. Shortly after, Charles decided then to test himself, and lo and behold, he tested positive for COVID. So he was home for the 2 full weeks pretty much, recovering with me. He didn't really have it as bad as I did, and I think it was worse for me because of me being pregnant. The only thing with him, I didn't lose my sense of smell and taste. He did for a couple of days and then got it back. I could taste and smell everything. To me, it was more of just the mucus. Like, I felt like I had so much mucus that I was so congested in my face. I couldn't breathe. Like, trying to like cough or do anything, like, TMI for those who don't know, but for the people who have been pregnant or going through pregnancy, you understand how it is. When you cough and sneeze sometimes, you might pee yourself a little bit. And I feel like I was going through clothes like 4 or 5 times a day, having to change, because it was just like any little sneeze or cough I did then would trigger a cough attack or a sneeze attack, to the point where it was so aggressive and I was throwing up and peeing myself at the same time, so I had to change my clothes constantly. And I was getting so frustrated because I was just like, I'm so uncomfortable as it is, being 18 to 19 weeks pregnant or so, throwing up, not being able to sleep. I had to still sit up in my sleep. At that time, Eli was doing pretty well in sleeping in his crib, but he still would come to the bed with us. So I was like trying to keep him away because I didn't want him to catch COVID. As I said, he was showing some symptoms of being sick, but he never got full-blown sick. So I was worried that now that we both know we're sick, I didn't want him to get it. And from what I heard, I may be wrong, that most kids don't tend to get the full effects of COVID. If they do get sick from COVID or have COVID, it's very mild. So I was praying to God and hoping, you know, if Eli did get sick, that's what, or if he does have COVID, then that's what it is. But yeah, so I just remember just being absolutely miserable, like miserable. I don't know. I just remember calling my midwife and being like, what can I take? What can I do? Because too, when you're pregnant, you can't take a lot of medication. And with COVID, like, there's not much you can do but take medication and rest. So she was like, you know what? Try to find medication without alcohol or without, I don't remember the drug's name. It's like some Sweden, I don't know. There's some type of decongestant ingredient in certain medications that may trigger irritation with the baby. So she was like, try to avoid certain medications. And I think the only one that was approved of for me to take was what's that medicine called? Benadryl? No, Robitussin. So I'd take Robitussin like every day for my cough and my sore throat. We were drinking honey and lemon every day with hot water. Like, it was just, both of us laid out pretty much for 2 weeks, and it was just misery. And I don't know if it's much different from being sick with a regular cold, or if I would have said it's different from being pregnant any other time. But I do know for sure that it wasn't the greatest experience ever. It wasn't, not at all. And I just remember the worst part about it was that I couldn't hold down food for maybe 1 or 2 days. I couldn't hold food down. I'd be hungry, but it was just that the idea of even eating would turn me off, because I would know that I'd eat, and as soon as I would have a cough fit or coughing attack, then I'm gonna throw everything up. And it would, like, I'd be throwing up food to the point where it's like, you know, when your stomach is like squeezing itself, and it's just kind of like you're continuously gagging and like oh, it's just tightening, and you end up throwing up like the bile that's in your system instead of just throwing up food. And I would get to that point and just be like, hate myself, be like, why is this happening to me? Like, oh my God. And I was just miserable. And my midwife I would call her almost every day and complain about how like shitty I felt, and she was just like, oh, it's okay, Candace, like, you're gonna get through it, you know, just try to rest, try to like relax as much, drink and have a lot of fluids. So I try to do that, and yeah, I feel like it's been a kind of a blur as to how the rest of the recovery process was. I just remember from getting the results of the test that I just couldn't believe that we had COVID. It was just crazy. So yeah, that was my story time today. You know, I have to say as well that I'm super happy that Eden came out very healthy. My midwives, everyone was shocked how healthy she came out. Not because of COVID, just in general. They're just like, oh, she's so healthy. But to a lot of people who do have COVID, I've heard apparently have low birth weight babies, or there may be other issues that may happen with their baby. Not a lot, but it's very rare. Sorry. So a few people have experienced issues with having COVID in early pregnancy. But because of where I was at in my pregnancy, close to the halfway mark, my midwife wasn't worried too much. The only thing that she did worry about a little bit was the fact that Eli was born at a low birth weight. So she wanted to make sure that Eden also wouldn't be at a low birth weight. So I was already on track to doing ultrasounds like every 2 weeks throughout my pregnancy, or every month for the most part. And then as it got closer towards the end, I did it like every 2 weeks. So we were gonna monitor for low birth weight for Eden anyways, because of, as I mentioned, because of Eli's low birth weight. So I was happy to see that with Eden, she was born a little bit small still, but not too small, and she gained her weight like that. It was so quick, it was so instant that she caught up when she came out. Eli took a long time. I mean, I feel like Eli is still taking his time to kind of catch up, but a lot of that has to do with him and eating, and that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It was very quick and short. Stay tuned for more videos. Eli, thank you, baby. Stay tuned for more videos. I hope you guys subscribe, like, and comment. Tell me if you guys got pregnant, any moms that were pregnant and had COVID. Tell me if you had COVID. You know, let me know how was your symptoms. For me, the worst thing was just my sinuses and the cough, which I associated with being pregnant. Charles had a loss of taste and smell. Again, I guess COVID treats everybody differently. Not everybody experiences the same symptoms. Well, anyways, that brings me to the end of the video. Stay tuned for more videos and see you next time.